Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
We've got 5 fascinating tech stories lined up for you today. First up, Nvidia's CEO is warning that US sanctions are actually helping create a powerful Chinese chip rival. Then we'll dive into Meta's bombshell investment in an AI data company, a move that's forcing rivals like Google to run for the hills. After that, we'll explore how the insatiable power demands of AI are sparking a frantic push to reopen American uranium mines. From there, it's over to Austin, where protesters used a mannequin to challenge Tesla's self-driving safety. And finally, we'll wrap up with Amazon suing the EU, arguing its massive online marketplace isn't a systemic risk after all. Let's start with a statement from the CEO of the world's most important chip company, a statement about his biggest Chinese rival that's an absolute bombshell. Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang says that US sanctions designed to slow China down have a critical side effect. While Chinese tech giant Huawei is currently a generation behind Nvidia, Huang warns that if the US won't sell to China, quote, Huawei has got China covered. And the cost of this tech Cold War is staggering. In its last quarterly report, Nvidia took a $4.5 billion hit on unsold inventory due to the US export controls. That's billions of dollars in advanced chips left on the shelf. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. While this battle with China heats up, Huang has been on a rockstar tour of Europe, meeting with leaders like French President Emmanuel Macron. His pitch is simple and powerful. He's positioning Nvidia not just as a chip company, but as an infrastructure firm. He's selling the idea of sovereign AI, letting countries build their own AI power centers on their own soil using Nvidia's tech. European leaders are listening, treating him less like a CEO and more like a head of state, with packed auditoriums and crowds lining up for selfies. This isn't just about today's AI. Huang is already looking at the next frontier, declaring this the decade of autonomous vehicles and robotics, and says quantum computing is hitting an inflection point. This all highlights the real end game here. Huang is reading the writing on the wall, seeing a future where some countries might just choose to build their entire AI infrastructure with Chinese companies instead of American ones. The global race for AI dominance isn't just beginning, it's already on fire. Speaking of the global race for AI dominance, the battle isn't just being fought over hardware. The AI wars just went nuclear on the software side, actually. Meta made a move that has its biggest rivals, Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI scrambling to protect their most valuable secrets. Here's the deal. Meta is taking a massive 49% stake in Scale AI, a critical startup that provides the human-labeled data needed to train cutting-edge AI. This single deal instantly doubled Scale AI's valuation from $14 billion to a staggering $29 billion. The only problem? Scale AI's top customers are Meta's direct competitors, and the fallout was immediate. Google, Scale AI's single largest customer, is now planning to sever ties. We're talking about a contract that was worth around $200 million for this year alone. Google spent $150 million with them last year. Now, it's walking away. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. It's not just Google. Microsoft is backing away. Elon Musk's XAI is looking to exit, and even OpenAI is pulling back. Why the mass exodus? Because these companies fear that doing business with a Meta-controlled Scale AI would expose their entire research roadmap and technical blueprints to a chief rival. This has created a feeding frenzy for Scale AI's competitors. The CEO of one rival, Turing, said the deal marks a turning point, declaring that for AI labs, neutrality is no longer optional, it's essential. The CEO of another competitor, Handshake, reported that their demand tripled overnight after the news broke. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. As part of the deal, Scale AI's own CEO, Alexander Wang, is moving over to Meta to take a top position leading its AI efforts. This isn't just an investment, it's a strategic decapitation that has completely redrawn the map of the AI industry in a single day. So we've seen the massive strategic and financial investments pouring into AI. But all that computing power, well, it needs an incredible amount of actual power. And that demand is sparking a frantic and frankly surprising push in a totally different industry. The United States is the world's #1 producer of nuclear power, but it imports over 95% of the uranium needed to fuel its 94 reactors. So why the sudden frantic push to reopen American mines after decades? The answer is artificial intelligence. The power-hungry data centers run by giants like Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon are creating a sky-high demand for electricity, and nuclear is a huge part of the answer. This isn't some fringe idea. It has serious government backing. The Biden administration recently banned the import of Russian uranium and unlocked $2.7 billion in federal funding to ramp up the domestic industry. The national goal is to quadruple nuclear energy capacity by the year 2050. The challenge, though, is a big one. According to the CEO of mining company Energy Fuels, Mark Chalmers, even if every single permitted uranium project in the country was running at full tilt, quote, we could not satisfy the demand of the United States of America. The problem goes deeper. John Cash, the CEO of Energy, says that uranium miners globally are already failing to keep up with demand. And a new report from the Nuclear Energy Agency warns that if this continues, known uranium deposits could run out entirely by 2080. This dilemma is underscored by one final jaw-dropping fact. According to an expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the United States holds less than 1% of the world's entire uranium reserves. It leaves the US grappling with an almost impossible question: how do you build a secure energy future on a resource you barely have? From the macro level challenge of powering our digital world, let's zoom all the way down to the street level, where one of the most visible forms of AI is facing a very public trial. In Austin, protesters just put a Tesla with full self-driving to the test, and in a startling public demonstration, they showed it zooming past a school bus with its stop sign out before running right over a child-sized mannequin. This wasn't just a random stunt. It was a dramatic warning shot fired just days before Elon Musk's tentative June 22nd launch date for a pilot Robotaxi service in the city. Public safety advocates and political protesters are joining forces, saying Tesla's technology is not ready for the public, and they're pointing to the numbers. According to data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Tesla's current autopilot and full self-driving systems have already been linked to hundreds of collisions, including dozens of fatalities. The new Robotaxis would run on a future unsupervised version of that same software. And the accusations are getting personal. Protesters are accusing the company of a complete lack of transparency. As one demonstrator put it, citizens have not been able to get safety testing results. Another went even further, stating directly, Musk believes he's above the law. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is the revelation that the group behind the mannequin demonstration, the Dawn Project, is led by Dan O'Dowd, a CEO whose other company, Green Hill Software, sells technology to some of Tesla's biggest competitors, including Ford and Toyota. So now you have a perfect storm brewing in Austin. Concerned citizens, corporate rivals, and a tech billionaire all on a collision course. With the launch clock ticking down, the battle over the city streets is turning into a high-stakes showdown over the future of autonomous driving. Speaking of tech giants clashing with rules and public perception, our final story takes us to a courtroom in Europe. Amazon just dropped a bombshell argument in a European court, and it boils down to this. Just because they're huge doesn't mean they're a huge risk. The online retail giant is officially suing the European Union to scrap its new designation as a very large online platform. This isn't just a label. This classification, part of the EU's landmark Digital Services Act that came into force in 2022, forces companies to aggressively police illegal content, undergo independent audits, and hand over data to researchers and authorities. It's a set of rules designed to hold big tech accountable for systemic risks. So naturally, Amazon's lawyers are firing back with an incendiary claim. In court, they argued that for a marketplace, quote, size does not multiply risk. They called the EU's metric arbitrary, disproportionate, and discriminatory. Their core argument, any problems on their platform, like a faulty product, affect individual customers, not the entire system. They claim the new rules, quote, make no sense when applied to online marketplaces. And, you know, this isn't just an isolated fight. The battle lines are being drawn across the industry. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, along with TikTok and even German retailer Zalando, have all launched their own legal challenges against the Digital Services Act on various grounds. It's a full-scale rebellion by some of tech's biggest names against Europe's biggest regulatory push. The court is expected to rule in the coming months, and the decision could have massive ripple effects. It leaves a critical question hanging over the future of reigning in big tech. If a giant like Amazon successfully argues it's not a systemic risk, then who is?
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.